Reached the appointed time, and I'll call this meeting of the Simpson County Fiscal Court to order. I'm going to ask our counselor, Sam Phillips, if he would offer a prayer, and then we'll have the pledge to the flag.
Gracious and loving Heavenly Father, we ask you today to bless the members of this board and ask that you give us wisdom and discernment to do what is right in your sight and what is right for the people of this county. Also ask that you look after the first responders and those in uniform and those who did wear the uniform at one time. Ask that you bless and keep those who are sick and ill. Ask that you forgive us of our sins. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're glad to have some representatives from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet District 3, Joe Plunk, Wes Watt, Casey, Justin. Who's speaking today? Casey, you're speaking, so we'll let you come to the podium up here and share the report from District 3. But we appreciate you guys being here with us today.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning. I've got some better news this year than we had last year. Last year, we just had a little bit of money that had to carry over that went into this year's balance and helped out and went a little farther on a project we have for Simpson County. This year, the projected allotment was right at $913,000. We had a carryover from last year, a little over $100,000. Total funds available, $1,014,473. Right off the top of that, 42% of that is $383,400. That goes to the routine maintenance on rural secondary roads, things such as pothole patching, drainage, all the things associated with maintenance on the highways. Item number 2 on the handout, county judge expenses, $3,875. That left us $490,255 to put toward projects for our rural secondary roads. That was enough to do a resurfacing project for 2.7 miles of 621 Stevenson Road. That's from the intersection of Robertson Road to the intersection of US 31W. Flex funds, which was 15% of the initial distribution this year, was $136,943, and there was no carryover from last year, so that's the balance you all have this year to use on your county things. For the rural secondary program, that's all we have for that, but I thought I'd mention, I'm sure you all saw the concrete rehab project going on 100 down here. I think they were starting diamond grinding that this week, so hopefully it shouldn't take too long to wrap that up. Has a September 30th completion, but I believe they'll be done way sooner than that. Another project that was in the letting last month was 1008. That was either the second or third time that's been in the letting. The bids were coming in high. Bid come in, I think 4% above the engineer's estimate on that this time. That's the entire 1008 and adding the turning lane in next to Casey's old Minute Mart down there. So hopefully that one gets awarded here in the next few days.
When you say the entire 1008, what do you...
That's from Cedar Street all the way to 5 Star.
To resurface?
Resurface, yes. Fixed base failures, resurface, and add the turning lane.
Add the turn lane out at 31W?
Yes.
And so the bid that come back was approved?
It was 4% above the engineer's estimate. Typically, when it's when it's that low, it usually gets awarded. Me and Justin were just talking about that. It's not showing up on the website awarded yet, but we're pretty confident that that'll go through this time.
So what was the anticipated start time if it does materialize?
Well, it has a November 15th completion date, so
Of this year?
I'd say it won't be too long.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll say that's pretty quick,
yeah.
relatively speaking.
Still on the same page about where the turning lane's at?
I'm assuming we're talking.
If you're coming, let's say you're leaving the state barn and coming toward 100, when you get to Casey's will be on your left.
Oh, the new, okay, no,
Yeah.
we're not.
I'm sorry, you all have.
We're not on the same page.
You all had
probably.
that's
You're
right.
gonna- you're
This is
gonna
the
have
new
a-
Casey's.
You're
Used to
gonna
be the
have a
minute-
right-hand turn lane
Yes.
off of 1008 toward 100.
Towards
east.
Scottsville, yes.
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 Actually, I don't even
I'm
think
more
it's a
concerned
Casey's.
about the turn lane at the intersection at 31W.
That's,
Will that, is that in the works, and then we're gonna repave that area and then tear it up to?
Joe can elaborate a little bit more on that one. He's, yeah.
Okay,
But yeah, there's a project in the works right there for that too.
Yeah,
But Joe has more information on
okay,
that.
all right.
And something to look at too when you're talking about that, and I know that there's not been a sheriff's deputy or city police that has seen this, or they would have got a ticket, but I've seen people out there by the 5-star go up and make a U-turn, just so they can turn into that without having to go all the way out to 31W and coming back in. But if we don't do something out there with that Dollar Mart and that 5-star there, I think we're gonna have some wrecks on 31W. If there was a way they could come out of the 5-star and make a left on to 1008 to go up to 31W at the red light, I think that may be something that could address the safety issue there, because
Joe also has some info on that,
Okay.
on that one right
We
there.
got,
Joe's full of info this
Marty, I'll
morning. I
forward it
think
to you, but Scott and I were copied on a pretty lengthy email from Joe about that earlier today, so,
Yeah,
or actually yesterday afternoon, I think. All right, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're
And
fine.
Bobby, thank you,
And
because
that's-
we were talking about two different intersections.
that's all I have on the rural
Okay.
secondary stuff and the couple projects I mentioned. If you all have any questions about the things you're talking about, Joe has all kinds of info.
Joe has
for
all
you.
the answers.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Casey.
Thank you.
Yeah, not all the answers, but Casey did a great job of explaining routine maintenance. So the rural secondary program and then the primary route like 1008 is not a rural secondary road, but he's just letting you know that this is an important project that's coming, and we're hopeful that that will be awarded and we'll have that completed this year. As far as the Hunt Ford, I'll call it, the Hunt Ford turn lane, so that is a highway plan project that was added in the budget in the 2020 cycle. We didn't start the design for about a year and a half. There's lots of reasons for that. These things take too long. I wish they didn't. But the good news is we are proceeding toward a July letting. It should have already been in the March letting, but we've got a little legal issue with the right-of-way there at the gas station on the corner. Once we get that done, the utilities are clear. You've seen utility work going on in that intersection, and even last summer. So there's utilities that have been cleared. The design has been done. It's just that one parcel that until we get legal clearance to be on the property, then we can't let the project. But we're hopeful for July letting, and that would be good news. As far as 5-star, lots of information there. I won't bore you with that, but we are open to eliminating that curb. So the curb was there to prevent people from turning.
Right.
It eliminates conflicts and supposedly makes it safer, right? But there's opportunities for the owner to remove that by permit, but they have to provide a left turn lane. And right now, there's not enough room in the middle to provide a left turn lane. So it's kind of a yes if. Yes, if the owner is willing to do these things, we would be open to that.
So it would be the owner of 5-star, and I guess the Dollar Mart both would, because it would benefit both their customers. What I've seen, and people that, it was brought up to me, that if you go straight across on Patton Road, there's not really a lane to go straight across, but when you got traffic coming from the north and the south both, and it's very hard for people to go straight across into that Patton subdivision over there.
Yeah.
So it's hard. I mean, I think it will probably be a safety issue to get that done, so hopefully they will do that.
Things have changed, so we're open to it. We can change our minds as well, so that's good news.
When all this started, when I contacted everybody, that was my concern. I mean, everybody's having to go in and out, not everybody, but most people are going in and out that one entrance.
Yeah.
And It is very unsafe at busy time of day.
Yeah, we understand.
there,
Like I
so-
said, we can change our minds on that. And also, back to the Hunt Ford turn lane, so I know you've asked several times, and I think Casey mentioned last year, that project, since we're going to have a contractor there working, we have agreed to that opposite corner to pull back that curb so that trucks, you've mentioned before
Right.
about trucks having a hard time
I
making
know,
the
I've been through there a
turns.
couple times when the electricity's been out and that light has been treated like a four-way. And I'm not sure it isn't quicker to go through it that way than it is to wait for the light. I mean, people were actually, it seemed like they were going through it quicker than when there was a light there.
I have an idea about that, and I've mentioned it to the judge. It's kind of a brainstorm about eliminating left turns going out of town. I'm going to just throw it out there for you, okay? So let's see how this floats. So if you're driving out of downtown and you get to the intersection there with Hunt Ford, what if we didn't allow a left turn? Only 5% of the traffic turns left there, if you think about it. If you're probably going to that side of town, you're going to use 100 or Cedar Street or something like that. What if we eliminated that left turn lane and changed the left turn lane to a through? So now you've got two throughs. You can disperse the traffic better. You can flush more traffic through. Some people don't like it. Gives some heartburn about that, but I'm open to it, and I want you all to sort of think about it and let me know how you feel about it. So.
In between the CVS and Shells, right? In between them two, yeah.
Yeah, some folks are worried that, well, left turners will just drive through Wall Street, I think is called there between
They
the
would.
CVS.
Yeah, I think one of the things that would help a lot would be if going south out of downtown, if there could be two southbound lanes, if you come back, I don't know
Yeah.
how many yards or feet or what you'd have to come back, but have two lanes. I mean, keep the center turn lane, but have two lanes so many yards back that you could start stacking up traffic, because as soon as you go through that light, you're into two southbound lanes. Obviously, one goes away once you get to Walmart.
Yeah.
But I would say it's close to 50-50 on the traffic that's going either to the businesses or Walmart and the traffic that's going on through. So if you could stack up that traffic in two lanes there, would be better than it backing up all the way to the Church of Christ.
For sure, and we're saying the same thing. You're saying construct a new lane,
Yeah.
which is money and it takes time, and we have to buy people's property and move utilities, so it doesn't happen quickly. Whereas if we said we don't need this left turn lane anymore, we could restripe it for a through lane and make it happen this afternoon if we wanted to. Maybe
Yeah,
not this
I
afternoon,
mean, I get that, but I do think you're going to
practically
put a lot of left
pretty-
turning traffic in there by the pharmacy, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
I think
a,
5% he
If
said.
we would just say, Joe, go put your roundabout there, do you think it all would be good?
yes, that would definitely solve the problem. The good news is the project that's going to be in the July letting, once we have the ability to have a left turn coming from 1008 there by Hunt Ford, the traffic signal will work much more
Yeah,
efficiently.
the signaling will be much better.
How big of a roundabout does it take for semi-traffic?
Oh, you could have a 100-foot radius. I've got one on my phone here. They're probably laughing at me because I always pull it out and show people. But I show one in Williamsburg, Kentucky. We can take a ride together and I'll show it to you. But it's a flush median there in the middle, and as trucks go around, their back tires jump up on that center island. But you can make the roundabout pretty small. But given the amount of traffic, you really need a two-lane roundabout at this
Yeah.
location, just like the one there at WKU. So
I'm
it's
not
got a big
opposed-
footprint.
I'm not, if it would work, I'd be fine with it. It's going to be, people will say it won't work in the beginning until they get used to it, and then it might actually would work better than having the red light. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, it's coming.
I know
think
I've
it's
seen them in
coming.
places that I didn't, the one on 31W by Western up there, I thought, that's a horrible idea. And it seems to, it works just fine now. Everybody's used to it.
We'll get another crack at the budget here in
Okay.
about 6 months, but between now and then, we're going to be able to see this more practical solution with the left turn lane,
Okay.
maximize efficiency of the signal, and then we'll all get back together again and see if we want to pursue
One
something
real
bigger.
quick question, then the 1008, is it in the state road plan to continue the 1008 bypass, connect it from 31W
Yes.
to Highway 100?
Yes.
So is there a time frame on that?
We're just getting out of the gate, if you will.
Okay,
So,
okay.
yeah, we got to start design. I mean, a project like that, building a 4-mile new road around the northwest side of Franklin, you're probably looking at, I mean, realistically, an 8-year minimum before people are driving on it.
But regardless of the path, the starting point is at 1008 at 31W, and the other end is
Yes.
1008 at 100?
That's right.
Okay.
One quick thing, while you are here, the Dollar General out on 585 by the creek out there, if you try to come out on the 585, you can't hardly see the traffic coming because the trees are there. So if you could get a recommendation in for them to trim those trees, because
We'll make a note.
if you go out, like I say, if you pull in there and try to, you'll see what I'm talking about. Yes.
Okay.
The trees down by the creek there, and I've seen it, I've seen it there, and I've had other people say something to me about it. You can't see any traffic on the other side of the bridge. And so there's not a lot of distance there if you pull out and somebody's coming.
We'll look at it today.
Yeah, that would be good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time. We took
Thank you, guys.
more than
Thank
our
you
fair
for sharing
share.
with us.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
All right, gentlemen, moving on to the minutes of our May 21st court meeting. I need a motion and a second to approve those minutes if there's no corrections or additions or alterations. Got a motion by Marty?
Second.
Second by Jeffrey. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
That motion passes. Next would be a first reading of ordinance number 310.92, moving the 911 fee on water bills from $2 to $3. I need a motion and a second on that ordinance. Got a motion by Myron.
Second.
Second by, I heard Marty first. I heard Marty and Scott.
I don't care.
I heard Marty first. So Pam, we'll roll call the ordinance.
Myron Thurman,
Yes.
Marty Chandler,
Yes.
Jeffrey Burr,
Yes.
Scott Poston,
Yes.
Mason Barnes,
Yes. Next is to approve the second reading and final passage of ordinance number 310.28, the Lexington Place Lighting Agreement. This is the agreement that just gives the co-op the ability to add that fee to those residents that have requested the lighting.
So much.
Got a motion by Marty, second by Jeffrey. Any question, discussion? Pam, we'll roll call that ordinance.
Marty Chandler,
Yes.
Jeffrey Burr,
Yes.
Scott Poston,
Yes.
Myron Thurman,
Yes.
Mason Barnes.
Yes. And one other ordinance would be to approve second reading and final passage of ordinance number 920.124. This is the zone change out on the corner of Cheney and Roark from Ag to R1. Got a motion by Myron,
Second.
second by Marty. Any question or discussion? And we'll roll call that ordinance.
Myron Thurman,
Yes.
Marty Chandler,
Yes.
Jeffrey Burr,
Yes.
Scott Poston,
Yes.
Mason Barnes.
Yes. Gentlemen, we'll bypass item number 6 because of my ignorance. I did not realize that we don't appoint these board. I do submit board member appointees to the local board, but they have to go through an approval process and then be sent to the state. So I was asking Pam about this, and she says we've never done this before. And so I got clarification from Matt. Once we submit a name, they have to fill out a form. The form has to get approval at the state. It goes to Dr. Stack's office, and that individual has to be approved by the State Board of Health to be on the board. But at any rate, the purpose of this was we had to fill the unexpired term of Dr. Mike Pulliam on that board. But we don't necessarily do it. The only board appointment we approve is the magistrate that serves on the board. So sorry for the confusion on the agenda. The employee benefits, we need a motion and a second. These are to approve the benefit renewals from McGregor and all the policies, and authorize the judge to sign any necessary documents to enter into these employee benefit agreements.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Scott. Any question or discussion? Counselor, was you about to ask a question?
Oh, sir.
Okay.
Who was the second? I'm sorry.
Scott.
Thank you.
I was just waiting for the
All
vote.
right. All right. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And now then, this is an odd one here, discussion to review or approve insurance deductible buy-downs. You should have this information on the portal here. What's it under?
The insurance.
Yeah, there you go. Insurance deductible buy-down quotes. So the way that our property and casualty insurance worked in this next budget is, one, we've seen, what, a 19% increase in it, but the deductibles also changed so that now any structure that receives damage by winds of 58 miles an hour or greater, the deductible moves from our standard deductible of what, $500? Up to 1% of the value of the building. So you see on that one sheet, you can look at, and you've got a list of the 4 that are the highest. But like on the one sheet where we've got the jail, it valued at $22.3 million. If let's say we had a storm and the winds were above 58 miles an hour and there were damage to the jail, our deductible then becomes roughly $223,000.
It's called a 1% convective storm deductible.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if it's a total loss or a partial loss.
Yeah.
So,
But we can buy that down to a $25,000 deductible. And then you see the prices there on like the Historical Society. It would cost $24.76. The courthouse, it would cost $7,300. This is annual cost. The jail, it would cost $19,000, and then the jail center would be $15,000. But I'm assuming, Nicole, if we chose that, we do that, but that money would be passed on to AOC.
well, I mean, we are the ones who cover the insurance, so, I mean,
But you go back to
I mean, I
like the
guess if they're
Justice
the ones
Center.
doing the work,
calculated
then they
into
would
the
get
lease
it, but
some sort of a way?
do what?
Is that calculated into the lease some sort of a way? I mean, that's cost.
I mean, the AOC just does it by our expenses, so yes, I mean, the part of our expenses is our property casualty insurance, so it is a part of what AOC does reimburse.
So you see on the Justice Center with a total value of roughly $17.9 million, if we had storm damage with winds 58 miles an hour or greater, then our deductible becomes roughly $179,000. And like Nicole's saying, this is on partial or, whether it's partial damage or destruction. But let's say you have just some partial damage and it's $50,000 or $60,000. Well, our deductible's $179,000. So I mean, it's just, we eat it all.
But we're only doing it on 4 buildings, right?
Well, but that's
We
the
just
4.
quoted the highest ones.
Those were the highest ones. If you look at, several other buildings on that next page, we still have several buildings that would only be $500 structures, that would only be $500 deductibles. And then you have some, these were the buildings where your deductible would be more than the $25,000 we could buy down to. Everything else that we have at the 1%, the deductible is less than, so like take the old jail and archives building, just take that one, it's line number 7. You go across at a roughly $1.7 million value, and so now with this 1%, the deductible is $16.7. Well, you can only buy down to $25,000, so you're not,
And you may be able to buy down further, it just costs more.
But it just
obviously.
costs more.
That's fine, I was just making sure we understood we were doing
It's,
these 4 buildings.
I guess it was one of the ways they kept our insurance, only increased 19% instead of 30
Well,
or
Marty
40.
mentioned, the school having to.
Oh, the school,
Yeah, that's what I
the
was
school
gonna say.
deductible is even crazier than these.
They went to 2% of the value,
Yeah.
and they don't get a chance to buy down.
Yeah.
And it was like, what did Tim tell us, a $10,000 deductible, and they went from 10,000 to 2% of a building?
Yeah.
So just for the high school, it was gonna be, their deductible went from 10,000 to like 440,000,
Yeah.
plus a 25% increase on their insurance. It was crazy what he was
It
telling
seems
us.
kind of like a legal way for insurance companies to charge you a premium and not pay anything.
Absolutely.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I'm on north side of town, and we just had, as y'all well know, 85 mile an hour
Oh, yeah.
straight line winds downward, Gus. So, yeah, it's not like it doesn't happen.
So, I mean, God forbid that we did have something catastrophic that come through town that, say, wrecked I mean, a catastrophic event right here through town could wreck the 4 buildings that are the highest, the History Center, the courthouse, the Justice Center, and the jail, and you get hit with all of them. Now your deductible is whatever those 4 total up to be. I mean, it's kind of crazy. 223, 179, 29, and 85 would be, that's what we would be out deductible if we had something happen. So you're talking about 300, $500,000.
$500,000.
Sounds like a pretty good idea to me, so
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Sounds like a no-brainer.
So, I mean, we can buy that down to where that deductible is, for those 4 buildings, we can buy this down to where that deductible would then be $25,000 per occurrence for an annual cost for the 4 at $44,127.
So move.
We have a motion on the floor to purchase the buy down on the deductible.
Second.
I got a second by Scott. Any other question or discussion? I'll just say here, it's one of those things that, you know, you do it, you know you're going to cost yourself $40,000, $44,000 that you hope you never have to use. But in the event we had something, I mean, just like this storm you mentioned, Sam,
Yeah.
had it been 4 miles south, we would have been, these buildings would have been right in the path of this 85 mile an hour.
And all these big trees we've got
Yeah.
right here.
And the tall
I mean,
buildings.
it's the old tall, yeah.
Yeah, it'd have been a mess.
Yeah, so you kind of feel like you're over a barrel, but you need to be, I mean, you need to
Well,
do what you can to safeguard your.
We just had a reminder about a week or 10 days ago,
Yeah.
so.
All right. If there's no other discussion, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Next would be the budget transfers. We need a motion and a second to approve those budget transfers.
So moved.
Got a motion by Jeffrey,
Second.
second by Myron. Any question, discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. And next is a cash transfer of $98,750 from the general fund to the jail fund. This is still within what we have budgeted for transfers, and just, it's there to, and I'll explain this a little more later, but it's there because we're going to have a bit of a space between our next meeting, and I'll explain that when we get to reports. Got a motion by Myron.
Second.
Second by Jeffrey. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? And next is the bills and claims. I need a motion and a second to approve the bills and claims as presented.
So move.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Scott. Any question or discussion there? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, moving on to reports. I do want to thank, talking about the storms and all we've had, and I think everyone up here would echo this, but I want to thank Bobby, your crew, your guys, the city crews, the state crews. Brent, I know Eric took crews out with the jail to clean up stuff. So, I mean, all the people that helped get everything cleaned up, it's very appreciated because it was Monday morning. Here's what happened. So Sunday night, about 11 o'clock, my wife elbows me and wakes me up, and she's sitting on the side of the bed looking at the weather map, and she's saying, the winds are really bad. I think we may be having a tornado. I wouldn't even have known it if she hadn't woke me up. And so we get up that morning, and I'm hearing stuff that's going on, and get up here early. I thought it was early, but there was Bobby and his guys, city crews, they were all already up here working. Y'all were out there at midnight? On it at midnight. I had no idea that I was going to see what I seen when I got to Widener Circle. It was crazy, wasn't it, Scott?
Oh, yeah.
And it was just, it was pretty, it was just bad. I mean, I hate that people have that kind of stuff, but the thing I'm most thankful for, that I'm aware of, no one was hurt or injured. But thank you, all the folks that worked. We had, and then the countless number of just neighbors and residents that come out to help. I know Marty moved some trees, and I'm sure there was other farmers that had equipment that they moved trees out of the road just to get them passable until they could get cleaned up, so.
And all those linemen.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yes, all the utility workers, the linemen, even the city water guys, because one of the trees, I never did clearly understand, Bobby, did a limb puncture the water line? Or I didn't know whether it uprooted and busted it or it punctured it.
Wow.
But it was draining the Quail Ridge tank at a pretty rapid pace. And so the city crews, they got that patched up and together pretty quick. So it was, just a good job by everyone for what you had to deal with. And Brent, you live right there in the middle of it.
Right.
Yeah, but
I do want to thank the county for getting out early. I mean, like at 3:30 in the morning, because people in that back part were stranded. There was no way to get emergency equipment to them if they needed it. I think about 3:30 in the morning, county was out cutting limbs and moving that stuff out of the road.
yeah.
I've said it many times, I'll say it again, we have one of the best road departments we've had in a long, long time.
I wouldn't argue that. All right, so next is, I said I'd talk about an extended time between meetings. So yesterday, we received an email just yesterday from DLG on an approval for our budget. But you can't have second reading until you advertise it, and you've got to get the advertising in for a certain amount of time. So even if we'd have sent the advertising in yesterday, it would not have been ready for our June 18th regular meeting. And so what the suggestion is that we will cancel the June 18th meeting and then just do a special called meeting on June the 25th. And that way we can have the budget on it. And obviously it will be a special call, so we'll have to make sure that anything and everything that we need to discuss will be on there. But
Because it has to be approved before July 1.
it has to be approved before July 1st.
And published.
And published. And so the thought was that would be probably easier and cleaner than having our June 18th meeting and then trying to have a special called meeting just to do this one.
And then having a meeting the next week.
And then having a meeting the very next week.
So do we need that in a motion?
Do we have to make a motion to cancel a meeting, or do I have the authority just to cancel a meeting? I know I have the authority to have a special called meeting at any time.
I think it's just cleaner if you just do a motion to cancel that one.
Okay, all right. So I need a motion and a second to cancel our regular June 18th meeting, and then I will reschedule that as a special call for June 25th. Got a motion by Marty?
Second.
Second by Myron. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, one handout I laid in front of you there. Right after our meeting, our last meeting, a gentleman stopped by, and this is a book. You see the book, it's called My Favorite Book, and this goes to all first grade kids, and it talks about the importance of family and family life and traditional family life. And I was never aware of this book. I didn't know that this book went to all first grade kids. But the question or the ask was, did the fiscal court want to be a partner with this book and help be a sponsor to it? It's a $600 a year commitment on a 2-year agreement. So it would be $600 one year, $600 the next year, unless you wanted to pay the 2-year agreement up front, then you get like it was either a 10 or a 15% discount if you wanted to pay both years up front. But the guy, and this was what he emailed me. I don't know that he emailed me an entire book, but he had a book here, and it just talked about kind of family values and the principles of a household with mom and dad and your basic family structure and how important it was. So I just told him that I would present it to the court and see if there was any desire to be a partner in handing this book out to the first grade kids.
They hand it out to them now?
They'll give it to all the first graders that come in August. And it'll have a page in there with all the different sponsors.
I don't have a problem with it, but has the school, I mean, do we need to ask somebody on the school board if they've approved them handing that out?
Yeah, a couple of the first grade teachers actually hand it out and read it to their class.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm good with it. Either way.
I'm either way too. I mean,
Can we just do 1 year and see how it works and then decide if we
well,
want to do the
I
second
think,
one?
I think they asked for a 2-year agreement. You can pay it 1 year at a time, but they want it on a 2-year agreement. And I mean, I'm not saying we have to do it, but I'm not opposed to doing it. So whatever's the will of you gentlemen. And I have no trouble contacting them and telling them we decided to bypass it. Whatever y'all want to do.
One of the concerns I have is we do this, then,
Yeah, you just keep getting asked for everything.
Yeah.
That is a concern.
but,
And that would be the one hesitation I would have to say,
yeah.
How do you pick?
yeah.
Yeah, what's the
That's
most
thing. Because
important?
once you start, there is no stopping point.
And there'll be some people that'll be opposed to us doing that, so, and this is tax dollars, so.
Yeah.
Also, being the skunk at the garden party, which I think is.
I knew I smelled something.
Yeah, well, that's me. You won't find a bigger proponent of the traditional two-parent home than me, but there's lots of families out there that don't have that, and there might be some mamas and/or daddies who, that might hit a nerve or two. So I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, I'm just saying that's also a consideration. And so, but the precedent thing is definitely an issue. You're right about that.
Yeah. So should we just leave it alone?
I think we should.
I think so.
All right. A couple other things I have real quick, and then I'll get you guys on. On your portal, and it's on there, this whole medical cannabis thing, it's like 60-some pages. We had I guess you would call it kind of a seminar, but a presentation where this Sam Flynn done this presentation to those of us that were at the Brad meeting last Wednesday. We're going to have to make some kind of determination, because here's kind of the gist of it, but you can read all of this at your leisure. They allow for individuals to start filing for business license on July 1 of this year, although this law doesn't take effect until January 1 of 2025. And so we have to have something in place prior to January 1 of 2025. Either that we're okay, or we don't want it, or we do nothing, and then I think it would be okay if we take no action whatsoever. But I would think you would have to be a little bit on the not prudent business side to file for a business license in a county that hasn't made a determination. If I were looking to do a license in Simpson County and the county government had not made a determination, I wouldn't be eager to start filing my business license. Now, my understanding is from last week's paper that the city has already had an ordinance read that they're not going to allow it in any shape, form, or fashion in the city. But I want y'all to take some time to read this, because there's parts of it that I think we might need to have a better understanding of. And that is, on one of these pages back on through here, it talks about the different license types, and understanding that you can set it to where you can allow for certain license, but not all license. So there's 5 different license types: cultivator, processor, producer, safety compliance facility, and a dispensary. So let's say you have, which we do, we have a couple of hemp facilities right now that are, I don't know, maybe XYZ is a producer, I'm not really sure. I think they do have a producing facility, but they definitely, both processors, is would we want to allow those individuals the ability to be a processor? But I guess for the one, because there's two of them, I think one is outside the city limits, but one is inside the city limits. So for the one inside the city limits, even if we allowed the processing, the one inside the city limits would not be allowed to, correct?
Yeah, they're bound by the city ordinance.
So I mean, and I can tell you the one that's outside the city limits has not been lobbying me to do anything. In fact, I've not even talked with them. But you could have the processor without the dispensary. But here's the one thing you can't do. So regardless, in our region, provided that all the 9 counties in our region don't say we're not doing anything. I mean, I guess that all 9 counties could just say we're not doing anything, and the cities therein say we're not doing anything, and then you don't have a dispensary or anything. But that doesn't mean you wouldn't have a dispensary in a region neighboring you. And the one thing you cannot not allow is you do not have any way to not allow the product to come through your county. So like even if you said we don't want anything, but yet there's a processor over here in this region that is getting product to a dispensary, you can't prohibit the travel of it because it's state law.
Well, anybody who thinks the product's not in the county can go down there and ask to jail if there's anybody that's got arrested for marijuana.
Well,
I mean, the product is here. So.
There is a difference.
There is, I agree, Sam.
There is a difference. And it's going to be an aggravation, and just from legal standpoint, because I'm going to be seeing all this, it's going to be a migraine headache to sort this stuff in district court. And our listserv questions came a couple of months ago when this was bringing up about this sort of thing. Question was asked, if we allow these things in dispensaries, can we impose a tax on it?
Mild, very mild.
And the short answer is not really. I mean, not anything amounts to anything.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely not a revenue producer.
It's not like local option stuff. And so I think it's less of a headache that y'all the politicians, I'm the lawyer. I'm just saying from my point of view, because I'm going to be having to deal with the unintended consequences, it's probably, I would suggest we follow the city's lead. But that's one lawyer's opinion, I'm sure.
Of course, one other option also is too, and you would have to do it pretty readily now for it to be on the November ballot, but you can have, it can be a vote of the public to whether we want to allow any part of it, like voting wise, let the public decide. That is also one option.
Yeah, true. But I'm just saying, as I said, just because for clarity's sake, we're going to allow this but not this, we're going to allow these two things and not the others, or we're going to allow it all. It's simpler, and the older I get, the better I like simple. A brick is a great thing because it has no moving parts. So
it depends on if it's being hurled at you.
Well, yeah, but brick doesn't usually tear up from inside issues. Point being is that it may be better to follow, the city may have the better idea here. Do
any of you guys have a strong opinion, or do y'all want to read over this and discuss it at the June 25th meeting?
Y'all need to read it.
Yeah.
My
personal opinion is that if there has been proven that this helps some people with Parkinson's and things of that nature, I would hate to say no. They can drive to Illinois and get it right now. So personally, if it helps somebody, it's better than hydrocodone or all these chemicals that it takes, I would think. So I'd like to read over it and then we can talk about it.
Can we do that? Y'all read over all of this, and then we'll bring up this discussion. We'll put it actually as an agenda discussion on the June 25th meeting.
And if it was out of the dispensary, you wouldn't have, hopefully you wouldn't have to worry about fentanyl being on it and killing somebody.
My opinion is that they can drive to another county and get it if that's what they need. That's my opinion.
They can do what, Mike?
They'll drive to another county and get it. I don't want a part of it in this
Or
county.
across the border in Tennessee, but.
All right. Well, we'll just leave it here. It'll be on the portal. If y'all can review it, we'll put it on as an agenda item discussion on the 25th. The only other thing I have is, as I said, I was out at the Brad meeting because this little seminar was going on, so I missed the Industrial Authority meeting, but my understanding was the audit was presented to the Industrial Authority, and since Marty was there and is our representative on the Industrial Authority, I'll start on his end with his report and let him share some of that. Oh, wait a minute, before he does that, real quick, don't forget, department heads, Thursday, June 6th, this year's employees meeting, 8 a.m., 10:30 a.m., 1:30 p.m. Open enrollment's Friday, June 7th, and this note that I was handed says attendance is mandatory. They'll be here from 8 to 11:30, break for lunch till 12:45, and back till 4 p.m. this Friday, the 7th. All right, Marty?
Yeah, I guess you could say it's hot off the presses since the last meeting. I know in the last year, there's been a lot of talk about industrial board stuff, so this audit, he took over an hour to go through this audit, and I'm just going to give you the gist of it. The industrial board net increased from 9.2 million to 9.8 million from 22 to 23. And their long-term debt went down right at 900,000, like 870,000, almost $900,000. So yes, they do have some debt, and the auditor said that they should be thankful to the county because we're carrying $5 million or 25% of their debt is carried on our books, and it's bonded at a low interest rate.
What is their debt, Marty?
It's right at 20 million.
How much?
It's right at 20 million. And 5 million of that is on our county books. The rest of it is covered by the buildings and the land, and on those buildings, he was talking about the leases were bringing a lot more than the payments, how sound financially the industrial board is. So there's like 37, 38 million in assets, when you look at everything. So, but a net asset where they increased 600,000 and they lowered the long-term debt almost 900,000 in 1 year. And so there was a lot of talk out there about wasn't in good financial shape and everything. I just wanted to let you know, and this is available for anybody that wants to get it. It's on. We've got it down here. You can pick it up at Industrial Board. Anybody can see that it's an audit. So, that backed up what I've been saying that they were not in that bad a shape.
So it sounds like a good audit report.
And the only other thing, another thing, I know I seen one field of wheat harvested yesterday, so you'll see farm equipment moving soon on these roads, and everybody just be safe. If you see a vehicle with the lights and the flashers and caution light and all, know there's probably going to be farm equipment coming. All right, and to echo what Mason said, thank you, Bobby, for what you and all your guys did.
Jeffrey, you have anything?
No report.
Scott?
Just echo what the judge said about all the help that we had. I know out on Broadway, I was out one day clearing, and a deputy sheriff stopped by and helped me, Skylar Hicks, just a great young man. So thank everybody.
Thank you again, Bob.
Is that your report, Mike?
Yeah, I did.
All right, Counselor?
Well, I'm ditto what everybody else said. That bad news is for delinquent taxpayers, the tax sale is in September. For those who have delinquent taxes, you can pay in full at the county clerk's office. If you wish to discuss possible installment payments, you can contact my office. We're open 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., close noon to 1 for lunch, but you have to get that done. The longer you wait, the more fees and expenses will be.
Sheriff, anything?
No report, sir.
Brent, anything with the jail?
Just our numbers are holding better than, so I feel pretty good about the number we're putting in.
Very good. Bob, anything with emergency management?
What about an update on the shelter at the park?
It's
Since
in-
all these storms and everything, I've had
It's-
people
It's
ask
still
me.
in design review stuff with whoever's doing all of that part.
Okay.
What he said.
Thank you, Bob and Mason.
John, anything out of the inspector's office? Leslie, anything with the fire department? Bill, maintenance? Bobby, anything with the road department? All right, gentlemen, I need a motion to adjourn, and then we need to be back here at 9:30.
So move.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Jeffrey, all in favor, aye?
Now, that motion was just to adjourn, not to adjourn and be back at 9:30.